And at 10, Atomica. After Earth 3 was destroyed by a mysterious force, Atomica is able to escape to Earth Prime. Atomica intended to join the Justice League, and got into their ranks by defusing a bomb planted by the Atlanteans in their war against the surface world. Atomica was recruited into the Justice League as the Atom, but she actually had a secret agenda. She was preparing to rescue the crime syndicate. She used her hacking skills to detect the presence of a virus contained inside the body of Victor Stone, and planned on using it in her mission. When the Justice League and Justice League Dark fought in Kahndaq over Pandora's box, Atomica revealed her true motives and used the virus she discovered to shift Victor's cyborg parts away from him and make them form the grid. Pandora's box was then opened and revealed to be a portal that the crime syndicate was able to use to come to Earth Prime. Then they invaded the Earth, and everyone was trapped in the Firestorm Matrix, so yeah. And at 9, Element Woman. Emily Sung can transmute her body into different compounds, gaining her powers under unknown circumstances. And when the League was said to be defeated during the war between America and Atlantis, Cyborg recruited a group of metahumans who would be useful. Element Woman was one of them. During the meeting that came after, the Big Seven agreed that there was nobody else like Element Woman and that she was going to be very useful, so they recruited her along with Atomica and Firestorm. When the crime syndicate invaded Earth Prime, she was trapped inside the Firestorm Matrix along with the other heroes. When she was released along with everyone else, her powers had interacted in a weird way with firestorms, and she was teleported a random distance away. The ordeal left her scarred, and it didn't help when the members of the League didn't come looking for her.
Number 8. Martian Manhunter. Your kind will fail, your kind will always fail. Those are some of the last words spoken by Martian Manhunter in Final Crisis 1 after he gets trapped in a prison. See, he had originally went there to be undercover as John Jones and regularly would report back to Batman, right? That's a pretty good crew. Then the villains broke free and he was left behind. Not good. So Human Flame had given the villain Libra instructions to kill Martian Manhunter. So Libra went and stabbed Martian Manhunter with a staff in front of the entire secret society of supervillains, and upon his death he returned back to his Martian form. And in his final moments he still managed to do his job and send a message back to the Justice League. That's a devoted member right there. And they held his funeral on his home planet Mars with Superman giving the eulogy. So when I die, hopefully Superman will do mine. Now it's probably gonna be someone boring. Sorry, my family's boring. You can find his Justice League time between Justice League Volume 2 and issues 6 and 7. Pretty sweet, check it out. Number 7, Supergirl, Kara Zor-El. Much like how Krypto was sent to Earth, Superman's older cousin, Kara Zor-El, was also sent to Earth. She was sent from the dying planet Krypton to protect Clark Kent. Well, rather Kal-El, but of course, as fate would have it, she was knocked off course by the explosion of her home planet. What a bummer. So she ended up in the Phantom Zone, of course. Now in the Phantom Zone, you can stay there for decades and not age at all. Your skin would look fantastic. That's actually what Kara did. So after her pod finally escaped, she landed on Earth and soon joined the Danvers family. Now of course, if you want to see her in action, you can catch the hit show Supergirl. Only 3 different actors have played her, the most recent and current run being portrayed by Melissa Benoist. So if you start binging it now, you can actually probably catch up for when the 6th and final season airs sometime next year when the world starts to be cool again. But if you want to start reading her from her comic book origins, you can find her first debut in Action Comics issue 252. And also, of course, the Justice League United issue 2. That's when things start cooking. Number 6, Fire. Beatriz da Costa is a founding member of the Justice League International. She made her first comic book appearance in DC Comics Presents, issue number 46. She started off as an amateur model, like we all do, in Brazil, and then became a showgirl and stage performer, and eventually she became an undercover secret agent for the Brazilian government. That's usually how it happens, right? I mean, I'm trying the exact same career path right now. I'm hoping Brazilian undercover agent is next. Checking my emails. So close. One of these missions, she was actually exposed to a pyroplasmic explosion. See the name Fire, you know, it's starting to make more sense now, eh? I gotcha. This caused her to obtain some superhuman powers, and at first sported the name Green Fury. And before the Justice League, she joined Global Guardians. Then along comes the Justice League International, and her and Ice Maiden decided to go and apply for this job. This was after Black Canary's resignation, and at this point, some members were being abducted. So the Justice League took them on, sporting the new, and I would say improved names, Fire and of course, Ice. Number 5, Booster Gold, aka Michael John Carter. There's the link. Picking up in Justice League International Volume 3, we find Booster Gold as somebody who craves attention, as we all do, but a leader that was controllable nonetheless. So he became a superhero after saving the life of President Ronald Reagan, using technology from the 25th century. Yeah, that ought to do it. Of course, after doing something like that on your first mission, you would get a high from that fame. Like, you can't top that, come on. Naturally, he became quite wealthy, and that is until his manager stole like all of his money. You gotta ride solo, people. Keep your stuff in your mattress. Keep your cash in your mats. I don't know, weird. In the revamped Justice League International in the late 80s, Booster was a main member. He got close with the Blue Beetle, Ted Kord, and they did some pretty funny missions together. Booster's suit was destroyed while fighting Doomsday, so good guy Ted Kord comes in and builds him a new suit. What a good friend. I don't have friends like that. Then while battling Overmaster, he lost that suit, and this time he also lost his arm. In comes good guy Ted Kord again, this time a new cybernetic arm to go along with it. I want a cool suit. All my friends give me are excuses. Number 4, Simon Baz. He's a Lebanese American born in Dearborn, Michigan. After seeing the attacks of the World Trade Center on the news when he was just 10 years old, he and his family faced ostracism because they were Muslim. His sister was even getting bullied and physically attacked, so Simon would have to intervene. Now, as the years went on, he got an engineering degree and shortly after that, a job at an automotive plant. After the financial crisis hit, he was let go and had to resort to stealing cars and then reselling the parts just to make ends meet. He was also a great street racer and even made some dough that way as well on the side. Accidentally stealing a truck filled with explosives, Simon ends up getting arrested and they suspect him as a terrorist, sending him over to Guantanamo Bay. Ignoring his pleas of innocence, Simon was nearly tortured. It was then a Green Lantern ring popped into the room to save the day, removing him from the facility. And what makes Simon stand out besides his strong origin story is that he has emerald sight. That's right, Simon Baz can see glimpses of the future. He also used to carry a gun with him even while wielding the Green Lantern ring. Why? Because he didn't trust a whole lot of people, obviously, and he wanted a backup in case the ring failed him, which it did a couple of times. We can find more of this reserve member of the Justice League in Justice League of America, Volume 3, Issue 5. Number 3, Captain Atom. Nathaniel Atom making his first appearance in Captain Atom Volume 2, Issue 1. Nathaniel Atom was an Air Force officer in the United States during Vietnam, and after being framed for a crime he did not commit, he was sentenced to death under the watch of Wade Eiling. Now, of course, he didn't want to be executed, so instead he was asked to be part of an experiment that had little chance of survival. I would take that risk. I'm a gambling man myself. The test is just wild. They had the hull of a crashed alien ship and wanted to see how tough it was. So they strapped a nuclear bomb underneath it while our boy Adam was still on the ship. That must be an odd waiting time. I wonder how that feels, just sitting there like, hope it works. Turns out it felt pretty badass considering the alien metal melted to him, and then he shot forward in time by 20 years. Sweet. So Captain Atom, a rather fitting name, joined the Justice League and eventually served as the leader of the Justice League Europe. We can find him front and center in Justice League International numero 7. Go check it out. Number 2, Steel. John Henry Irons, making his first debut back in '93 in Adventures of Superman issue 500. And after the world lost Superman, John Henry Irons tried to take the Man of Steel's place by using a high-tech suit made of armor. Then once Superman came back, he was simply just referred to as Steel. I mean, OG Man's back in town, you gotta change the nickname. Batman made the conclusion that the Justice League was full of brawn and needed a bit more brains. And boop, Steel has entered the chat. Steel crushed it too. He helped defeat Prometheus and the Queen Bee, and he led the reserve team as well, which included Huntress, Barda, Zuriel, and Plastic Man. He kills it. And finally, at number 1, we have Dr. Light, Kimio Hoshi. Making her first appearance in Crisis on Infinite Earths, issue 4, Kimio Hoshi was a supervising astronomer working in an observatory in Japan. She helped her co-workers as they were following a mysterious phenomenon, and they were watching its path. They were actually so afraid of this thing that she had to make them leave just so she could focus and study this thing in peace. The Monitor felt threatened from the Anti-Monitor absorbing parallel Earths, of course. So he created a champion. You see where I'm going already. So he sent a beam of energy from the Vega Star down to Earth, where it met Kimio. Now she obtained the powers of photonics, and the cool name came along with it as well. She was a member of the Justice League a few times, even the Justice League Europe. And following Infinite Crisis after her powers were returned, Oracle invited Kimio to join the Birds of Prey. But after she didn't make the cut on their first mission, she found her more suitable location with the Justice League instead.
Number 10, Dexter. I just love Dexter so much and would really love to see this Red Lantern character fleshed out and developed even more as a part of the Justice League. Dexter has been around since the New Earth continuity and is a Red Lantern from Earth who is, yes, a house cat. Get over it. I don't know why I said that, like everyone's gonna be like, really Amanda, a house cat? I know y'all like cats. I know some of you like cats. Let me know, are you a cat or a dog person? Let me know in the comments. Dexter was chosen to be a Red Lantern after a really sad story where their owner was murdered and then they themselves ended up a victim as they were tossed into a sack and then thrown off a bridge into the river below. But don't worry, Dexter got saved and became a Red Lantern. Dexter's main goal in life is to find the murderer of his owner and avenge her death. Dexter initially was presented as more of a villainous character, but in the Prime Earth continuity is less villainous and more neutral, I'd say. Sure, he's not against killing, I mean, he is a Red Lantern, but he's also such a good kitty. It's hard to hate him despite all his own hatred for, people out there that do bad things. In the Prime Earth continuity, Dexter also managed to ally with the Justice League Odyssey team, but not the JLA as of yet. Although Justice League Odyssey is also a super cool and weird team that I love. And yeah, you should check them out. Number 9. Harley Quinn. Okay, sure, so is Black Adam right about the fact that Harles will probably end up stabbing you in the back? Maybe. But she also happens to have some of the greatest plot armor of any character around. Over the years, Harley has been evolving, moving from being the Joker's sidekick to a somewhat reluctant anti-hero to a full-on bona fide superhero, or at least, almost a superhero at this point, I'd say. As of now, she's even considered part of the Bat family, an ally the Bats can rely on. So I mean, she might betray ya, but she'd still definitely be a fun one to read in the JLA series. I know I would be more inclined to read some Justice League if Harley was on the team, I'm just saying. And I think eventually as time continues to move forward, she'll become even more and more reliable as a hero. Probably. Maybe. Either way, she'll always be fun to read, so. You can't take that away from her, I don't think. And friends, before we move on to the next spot, if you are loving this list and you want to show some love for us on another platform, you can head on over to Facebook where you can give us a like and a follow, because that's what you do on Facebook.
And at 8, Mira. Mira joined as a temporary replacement for Aquaman. The Crown of Thorns, a massive magical barrier had been placed around Atlantis, trapping Aquaman. And after a battle with the League about breaking it down, Batman had offered that she join. During her time with the League, she had several adventures on the surface world. She was in the battle with Shirak and faced the time-displaced descendants of the League. This caused her to meet with a possible daughter from the future named Serenity. She joined in Justice League Volume 3 number 24 and still remains active to this day. She has helped the League several times since then, and the League has helped her in return. Typically not all at once, just a couple of members, like when she called on Superman and Wonder Woman to help hold the villain known as Eel hostage because she was sick and couldn't do it with her powers. And at 7, Simon Baz. Simon Baz was strapped for cash, so after giving up street racing he started stealing cars. Eventually he stole a car filled with explosives and ended up getting arrested and presumed to be an enemy of the state. He was deported to Guantanamo Bay where he was nearly tortured despite his plea of innocence. That's the moment a Green Lantern ring burst into the room, deeming him worthy and removing him from the facility. After disappearing, the League found him and he restated his innocence, even allowing Wonder Woman to golden lasso him. But the ring he had used to belong to Sinestro and Hal Jordan, so it reacted violently to the contact and he fled in fear. He joined the League in Justice League of America Volume 3 number 5 as a reserve member to be called upon when the time is needed, and he is the partner in Anti-Crime too, and at number 6, Jessica Cruz. After stumbling upon mobsters hiding a body and the murder of her friends, Jessica Cruz developed a debilitating anxiety and locked herself in a room for 4 years. During the crime syndicate's invasion, she was chosen by the Ring of Volthoom, after its owner Harold Jordan of Earth 3 was killed by Sinestro. The ring forced itself upon Jessica and took over her body and mind. Under the influence of the ring, she attacked her hometown and fought the Justice League and Doom Patrol. After Batman intervened, she was able to gain control of herself and overcome the influence of the ring. He told her that he was a victim as well, and that finding strength can overcome any fear. The Flash then called in Hal Jordan to teach Jessica how to stay in control of her ring, and under his tutelage she mastered the foreign ring. When Darkseid's daughter summoned Black Racer to kill the Flash, Jessica sacrificed herself to stop him, but in fact the entity inside the ring was the one who perished, crumbling the ring, but allowing her to become worthy of getting a new one, becoming a Green Lantern, and being assigned to work alongside Simon Baz by Hal Jordan. She joined in Justice League Volume 2 number 35 as Power Ring, then became a Green Lantern in issue number 50. Halfway through at number 5, Lobo. In DC Rebirth, Lobo was one of the villains set free by Maxwell Lord, returning him to his pre-New 52 persona. He was a part of the first Suicide Squad, but Batman eventually implants a bomb in Lobo's head and detonates it, knowing it will regenerate. When Lobo discovers that Batman did it to set him free of Max's control, he accepts Batman's offer to join a new incarnation of the Justice League to repay him. This causes him to be a founding member of the Second Justice League of America, along with Black Canary, Ray, and others. Lobo possesses strength comparable to that of Superman, Superman, but this varies from writer to writer. Sometimes he's even shown as just slightly stronger than a human. His extreme durability varies as well, but he's always shown as a ruthless bounty hunter who will complete a contract once it's taken, unless he gets a counter contract for more money. Then he takes that, which is understandable and a great way to run a business. He would be on Forbes Top 100 for sure. And at 4, Ryan Choi. Ryan Choi is the teaching assistant to Ray Palmer, aka the Atom. Ryan ended up becoming a friend to Ray, where he would talk about his superhero escapades, and working alongside him had Ryan become just as proficient with the tech as Ray himself. When Ray became trapped in a remote location, he sends a message to Ryan asking him to lead the search for him. And when returning to the lab, Ryan runs into Batman and Lobo, who wanted to recruit Ray for the second Justice League of America. When Ryan says that Ray is missing, Batman leaves. But Lobo is so impressed with the equations that Ryan had written on the board that Batman recruits Ryan instead. After being recruited, Ryan travels to Oregon where he assists in the recruitment of the Ray, being another early member to join the Justice League of America too. Ryan is also considered a founding member. Ryan Choi was also introduced in the CW crossover for Crisis on Infinite Earths, and now it's been announced that Brandon Routh, the current CW Atom actor, is leaving the show but not by choice, so perhaps they're making way for another Atom since Brandon does play Ray and Ryan Choi is now here. And at 3, Killer Frost. The Rebirth version of Caitlin Snow seems remarkably similar to the CW version. This is probably where the show got the idea, especially when the first Killer Frost Rebirth comic starts off with "My name is Caitlin Snow." At some point before Rebirth started, she was captured and transported to Belle Reve, where she was forced to join the Suicide Squad. After reforming and saving the world from Eclipso, a cosmic entity representing the wrath of God, by absorbing a small amount of life force from all Justice League members and then blasting the hell out of Eclipso, get it? Because he's the wrath of God, so he's blasting the hell out of it. No? Okay, I'll stop. As I was saying, she defeated Eclipso and saved the world, so Batman released her on parole and recruited her for the Justice League of America 2. She defeated Eclipso in Justice League vs. Suicide Squad number 6 and joined the JLA 2 in Justice League of America Rebirth number 1, and is considered a founding member as well. Penultimately, at number 2, Starman. Will Payton was a 1980s superhero. He gained the abilities of flight, super strength, slight shape-shifting, altering appearance, and blasts of energy after being struck by a bolt of energy from a satellite. However, he had seemingly died fighting Eclipso. In the 1990s, it was revealed that his fate was not what it appeared. The bolt of energy that had given him his powers in the first place was revealed to be the essence of an alien prince named Gavin. Really? You're an alien prince, but your name is still Gavin? I don't care if it's spelled with a Y, come on. Who also went by the moniker Starman. A present-day version of Lex Luthor was pursuing him for his power's secrets, so he traveled back in time and captured Payton, bringing him back to the present and experimenting and torturing him. He gained crucial information that he then wiped from Will's memory. However, Will somehow managed to escape and found his way to that era's Justice League, joining them in Justice League Volume 4, number 14. Finally, in at number 1, Detective Chimp. The Justice League Dark Team was a first-wave title for the New 52. The team was supposed to be something emotionally darker, according to the creator Peter Milligan, who compared the characters to detectives who struggle to cope with the things they see and have to do. The story started off with the Enchantress's defeat of the Justice League, proving the necessity for a more supernatural team to assist in these kind of events. The team originally contained 17 members, but in DC Rebirth, the team was shortened to 7, including Man-Bat, Dr. Fate, Zatanna, Swamp Thing, John Constantine, Wonder Woman, the leader of the team, and Detective Chimp. I love that a monkey was able to become a Justice League member. Well, I mean, technically Justice League, but like, not really. Like, Justice League adjacent. Monkeys are my favorite animal anyway.
Number 10, Hunter Prince. Hunter is the son of Wonder Woman from an alternate timeline. He first appeared in the 2016 Justice League story arc called Legacy. It's a 6-part story starting in issue 26 that allows us to meet the children of some of the original team from an alternate timeline. Hunter himself appears to be armed with his mother's lasso of truth, her bracelets of submission, and her razor-sharp tiara. Hunter was adopted and raised by the Kents, growing up alongside Superman and Lois' son, John Kent. Number 9, Aqua Baby. Arthur Curry Jr. is also known as Aqua Baby and is the main continuity child of both Queen Mara and King Aquaman. Or he was, anyways. He went on a few adventures with his parents but was tragically kidnapped by Black Manta and suffocated to death before either of his parents could save him. Due to the fact that he was Atlantean, Aqua Baby was unable to breathe out of water for a prolonged period of time. The death of baby Arthur is what drove a wedge between his parents, eventually causing them to separate. Though Arthur Arthur and Mara seem to be once again getting hitched, so perhaps we will also see a return of Aqua Baby, or more likely some other version of the character reintroduced to us. And before we move on to our number 8 spot, I just wanted to say thank you for watching, and if you want to help us out at the channel, you can do so by giving this video a thumbs up. It really does help. Number 8. Captain Carrot. This might seem like a joke pick, and I mean, it kind of is, but also I actually like Captain Carrot, and I want to read more about his adventures, and one of the ways I can ensure I get more Captain Carrot action would be to get him on the Justice League. I mean, when DC was doing their round robin this year, I was legitimately hoping we'd actually get to see Carrot's team up with Darkseid. How weird and cool would that be? I was so here for that comic. Sadly though, no, not a thing we're getting. Almost no support for Captain Carrot. I am apparently alone in being a Captain Carrot fan. I wave my sad Captain Carrot flag all alone. For those unaware, Captain Carrot is a superpowered rabbit, known originally in the New Earth continuity as Roger Rabbit before being renamed as Rodney in the Prime Earth continuity, for probably the fact, we kind of have a Roger Rabbit that is prominent. He hails from Earth 26, which is populated by other cartoon animals, some of whom join Rodney in his fight against crime as superheroes. And it's a very cartoony reality, so cartoon physics apply, which means that Captain Carrot's also pretty powerful, I'm just saying. Cartoon physics are some of the most powerful stuff you can have in a comic. Number 7. I Vampire. I mean, it's me, so of course I'm going to want a vampire on the team. Of course I am! And what better vampire hero than Andrew Bennett? Basically, I feel like a lot of my ideas for who should actually be on the Justice League, if I were making a Justice League team with people that hadn't been on it yet, are informed by Justice League Dark. I guess I just want the JLD to be declared more mainstream by being our JLA team. Andrew Bennett has also been known as the Lord of the Vampires before, although not all vampires recognize his sovereignty. This doesn't change how powerful he is, even alone as a character. Bennett is immortal, can heal, is super strong and fast, can manipulate and control minds, can shapeshift into animals, and is even skilled at wielding magic. Later on in his history, but still. Also, after the disrespect of dying pretty much immediately in DC vs. Vampires when attempting to warn the heroes, I think he deserves a spot on the JLA just for that injustice. Like, I mean, it's DC vs. Vampires. What do? You kill one of the most prominent vampires straight out of the gate? Ugh, so disrespectful. Number 6. Batgirl. Batgirl is Barbara Gordon, and while she actually did manage to join the JLA during her time as Oracle, Babs has never been a member of the team, to my knowledge, while using the Batgirl mantle. And honestly, if we potentially see Nightwing join up on the new league, it seems likely we could see Babs as well, who has been seen canoodling with Dick Grayson in his own Nightwing series recently. Batgirl is a member of the Bat family, the daughter of Commissioner Gordon and the protege of Batman, aka Bruce Wayne. And I also feel like she'd have some pretty useful skill sets when it comes to what she can offer the League. As Oracle in the New Earth continuity, she was part of the JLA for a while until Batman was off the team following the events of the Tower of Babel. However, in the Prime Earth continuity, she's only been a part of the Justice League United and the Justice League Reserves. So, yeah. Number 5. Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing is Alec Holland, or more specifically, Swamp Thing was Alec Holland before he was dissolved in essence in a swamp with his consciousness living on and merging with the swamp to create something new, an avatar of the green known as Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing is crazy powerful, and I don't think they get enough attention and respect from comic book fans in general. He's always been a character that I found fascinating, and I think as such that he would make a great addition to the Justice League team. Sure, Swamp Thing has been on the Justice League United team, Justice League Dark, and is part of the Justice League Reserves, but he's never been a member of the full-blown JLA, and I think there is a lot that he would have to offer on that team. Also, like I said, I do kind of just want a Justice League Dark to be the JLA. Number 4. Green Lantern Joe Moline. While Guy Gardner, Hal Jordan, Jon Stewart, and Kyle Rayner have been on the Justice League, and I think Jessica Cruz has as well, we've yet to see Joe Moline make it onto the main continuity team. Sure, she was on the supposed future team in Future State, but since that isn't really happening now and is relegated more as a potential future and alternate reality than a likely one for us, we don't have her yet there. John actually did ask Joe to join his proposed Justice League roster recently, but she was too busy to accept that offer. Here's hoping she gets less busy out in space soon so that she can actually join up. After the amazing series that was Far Sector, I need more Lantern Moline in my mainstream comics. Please. Give me more Malene. Number 3. Queen Nubia. Nubia may have just had her coronation in the comics, becoming the queen of the Amazons officially, but she could still maybe carve out some time for the Justice League. Or, at least if she doesn't have time now, perhaps later she might be able to get away for a bit and join them. After all, Hippolyta and Wonder Woman have both been members of the team, so I'm wondering where Nubia's invite is. Nubia, like her sisters, is a fierce warrior and a skillful leader. We also learned she enjoys playing music to pass the time as well in the preview for The Adventures of Young Diana, as seen in the Wonder Woman 80th Anniversary 100-page Super Spectacular. What I'm saying is, Nubia rocks. Number 2. Power Girl. Power Girl has been on a lot of teams over her time in the comics, but one team she has never been a member of that I would love to see her on is the Justice League. I know she's technically from an alt universe hailing from Earth 2, but that doesn't stop me from loving her as much as I love any other main continuity heroes who are also badass. In fact, don't tell Supergirl, but I actually prefer the alternate Kara of Power Girl to the main continuity counterpart. Sorry, Supergirl. Power Girl is often known for being a member of the Justice Society of America and has even been a part of Fringe League teams like Justice League Europe and Justice League Task Force, but no main league for her. She can even bring her cat Stinky along if she wants. I would not mind. Bring Stinky. Number 1. Nightwing. Dick Grayson is a character who has served on the Justice League following the Blackest Night event, but that was way back in the New Earth continuity. And even then, that wasn't Dick Grayson as Nightwing on the team, it was Grayson as Batman. And this is Prime Earth now, and we still have yet to see Nightwing join the JLA. Now that Batman is gone following the death of the Justice League in Justice League issue number 75, it would be really cool to see Nightwing follow in his mentor's footsteps and even become the leader of the Justice League. This is implied at the end of Dark Crisis issue number 1 by Black Adam, or at least the inclusion, if not leadership, of Nightwing on the future team. But will it happen? Well, we hope so.
Kicking off the list at number 10, we have Element Woman. Making her debut in Flashpoint Volume 2, Issue 1, she was actually recruited by Cyborg to help prevent an upcoming war between Wonder Woman, Amazon's crew, versus the Aquaman and Atlantean's crew that was destroying Europe. So she tries to help out, but Shade, the changing man, uses his M-Vest to reveal that Element Woman, Emily Sung, was insane. Awesome, okay, cool, way to expose our girl. So Cyborg recruited Emily and other metahumans, and the Justice League figured Element Woman was too powerful to not include in the fun. Come on, you gotta get her in there. Alongside Firestorm and Atom. Like Metamorpho's power, Element Woman could transform into any of the elements found in the human body, and then craft them how she pleases. She uses the metal to change her hair colors, which I wish I could use. Although my hair is already going white. That's great. And before we continue on, guys, if you could go ahead and toss us a thumbs up on this video, because it does help us out quite a bit at the studio. Thank you so very much. You guys rock. Now back to some other Justice League members. Number 9, Mara. Making her first appearance in Aquaman issue 11, Mara has taken the place of Aquaman temporarily. See, Mara was on her way to break through the Crown of Thorns, the invisible magic barrier that had surrounded Atlantis, but before this though, she had thought that Aquaman had died by Atlantean soldiers. She even mourned him at the Curry Lighthouse. So she started attacking the Crown of Thorns. She was pissed, makes sense, and while doing so, she actually created these massive tidal waves. So the Justice League came in, and after the battle, she started to calm down. She realized she was putting like a lot of civilians at risk with these tidal waves. Like one time I had a temper tantrum at the zoo when I was like 3. Straight up just hucked my ice cream cone and it went right over some guy's sneakers. Poor dude. I'll never forget my actions. Horrible, horrible actions. Batman didn't approach me and ask me to be on the Justice League afterwards, but Mara, she was lucky enough to get that, so. She then served as the temporary replacement for Aquaman. Not a bad gig. Number 8, Lord Chaos. Making his debut in New Titans Annual Issue 7 back in 1991, Lord Chaos is the son of Donna Troy and Terry Long. Now, Donna Troy may have a pretty confusing backstory, but her son, Robert Long, isn't as crazy. So let me explain. He was born with the powers of a god, right? So with that, he ended up going a little bit mad, right? A little bit crooked. So he ages himself, kills his own mother, and then of course becomes the dictator known as Lord Chaos. Nice, dude. Awesome. Great plan. Yeah, his name sounded evil for a reason, so you were onto something. Inspired by the original Titans team, a group of super teens going by the name Teen Titans go back in time to kill Donna before Lord Chaos, the now evil world-conquering god, was born. Not a bad idea. We love time travel. Let's do it. But here's the fun part. Lord Chaos goes back with them. in order to prevent them from killing his mother / him. Gotcha, there he goes. So Robert was still born, but thankfully the Titans of Myth stepped in and stripped the mother and child of these godlike powers. The Titans of Myth bringing along Lord Chaos, stating he will either learn or cease to be. Learn or cease to be. This sounds like my grade 12 math teacher. He'll either learn or he'll cease to be. Now look at me. Ceasing to be. Sorry, Mr. Lake. Number 7, Maxine Baker. The daughter of Buddy Baker, aka Animal Man, has quite the abilities. In the pre-Flashpoint era, Maxine Baker wasn't a huge character, right? But she of course picked up some of the powers from her father, those powers being the ability to tap into the life web and control it. And with the new 52, Maxine got bigger and badder. She became the avatar of the Red, which sounds a lot cooler already. I mean, come on. The Red is another name for the life web. So Maxine can control every animal on Earth as well. And that's not all. She's super powerful, guys. She can also control the elements and create this Eldritch Blast. It's no wonder most of the time people are trying to get a handle on her powers. I mean, even she struggles with them. Controlling animals would be a sweet gig, eh? Imagine the practical jokes. Oh my god. Number 6, Thunder. Making her first appearance in Outsiders Volume 3, Issue 1, Thunder is the daughter of Black Lightning and Lynn Stewart. So Anissa Pierce had a pretty nice deal with her father, okay? The deal was that if she graduated from college, only then can she consider a career in crime fighting. And the night of her graduation, that is exactly when she donned the costume. It didn't take long for her to get approached by Red Arrow, who offered her a position in the Outsiders. Her father though, her father is like, no, you have to resign from these crazy people, I don't like this. And of course she said, no way, Jose. And then, when Savick came sniffing around again, her father actually helped the team out and her. And this was a cool time. This was the first time they had actually seen each other in action. What a moment that would be, eh? So Anissa was trained by Nightwing in combat, nice. She's a trained doctor, nice, hence the whole education before kicking ass deal. That plus her abilities to increase the mass of her body and become like immovable and super strength. Look out, you're toast. Number 5, Dawn Allen. You can probably guess this one by the name, yes. The daughter of super speedster Barry Allen, aka The Flash. She made her comic book debut with Adventure Comics 373. She's a fun one. She's actually born in the future, during the first crisis. See, this was in the 30th century before the Legion stuff in the 31st century, right? So they had to hide their powers. They also go by the name of the Tornado Twins, for good reason. They both obtained a small amount of super speed from Barry. So they rescued Wally West, and it was so badass, like they knew what they were doing. Just because they aren't as fast doesn't mean that they don't know how to get the job done. So the twins worked side by side, and when they combined their efforts, they were unstoppable. I mean, just these two crazy tornadoes coming at you. I mean, can you be more intimidating? I don't know. Number 4, Bruce Wayne Jr. He's part of the Super Sons, so I have to include him in this list, obviously. Bruce Wayne Jr. We go on over to the 1965 version of Bruce Wayne Jr. making his debut in World's Finest, issue 154. He's the son of Catherine Kane, and as you could have guessed, Bruce Wayne Sr. Yep. He's part of a duo called the Super Sons, and that name is pretty perfect for the gig. Definitely belongs here. Cited by Superman Jr., the two grew up together. I mean, the opening of their issues show them both reading up about their dads and all their crazy achievements. They even get married on the same day. I mean, these are life goals. I mean, I hope me and my super buddies do this one day. Or just me and my buddies get married one day, that'd be nice. My favorite part is seeing the two interact, right? Like Superman's powers, there's one point where Superman's not letting baby Batman down from a teeter-totter. And he's like, nah, I'm not letting you down till you admit that my dad's cooler than yours. And he's like, alright, I guess. And comes back down all shameful. Bruce Wayne Jr. actually grew up forgetting about his father's identity somehow, and then when he was reminded of it, he tried to capture a crook while disguised as Batman. I mean, yeah, if my dad was like, hey, I'm Batman, I'd be like, okay, what size is that? I can probably squeeze in there. It didn't go well for him, you know, the first shot. He didn't gather any evidence. He just went in raw. It wasn't great. So after an argument with his father, Bruce Jr. left to meet up with his other man, Clark Kent Jr. See, they're homies. They don't go too far for a reason. I would watch a buddy cop show with these two just saving people and smashing things up, but they have to be kids. They have to be moody little kids, and they have to require little super naps in the middle of heated battles. That's the deal. Number 3, the Huntress. First appearing in All-Star Comics issue 69 back in 1977, Helena is a lawyer for Cranston, Grayson, and Wayne, but of course, that's not all. Earth 2 is home to the daughter of an older Batman and Catwoman. That's right, when she was only 19 years old, her mother, Selena Kyle, now a retired Catwoman, in the future, died in a tragic mishap, right? Now, to add insult to injury, this henchman, Silky Cernak, was the reason behind this photo that just popped up that shows Selena Kyle as Catwoman murdering a police officer. Not a great photo, not cool. If TMZ was around, they'd be like, oh my god, trending, BuzzFeed, let's do it. This is wild, right? So of course, Helena was upset and wanted to make things right. So she took a page out of her parents' book and became the Huntress. She went after Silky Smooth Cernak and got him arrested. Awesome. Her mother ended up being okay after all. Don't worry, yeah, it turns out she didn't even kill anybody. The photo was tampered with the whole time. Bad guys doing bad stuff. She kept the suit and eventually wound up on the Justice Society of America. See, if you want the truth, kids, you just gotta get a super suit and, you know, wrap some dudes in nets. It's easy. Just make them talk. It's easy. Number 2, Dina Drake, Black Canary. Flower shop owner by day, superhero at night. The classic life thing. She would work alongside Larry Lance before marrying him. How cute. I mean, he died by the hands of Aquarius, and then that forced Dina to move from Earth 2 to Earth 1 to start a new life, but cute nonetheless. But have no fear, it was in doing this that she met Green Arrow, and they of course hit it off. She has this really awesome ability called the Canary Cry, which is what I do when I, don't get what I want. Where basically she just screams really loud, knocking back her foes. It's a great combo with her fighting skills. Her origins are a little confusing. So before the Crisis storyline, there was a 1983 issue that had Starman taking Black Canary to the Thunderbolt dimension, okay? Where she sees a coffin containing Larry Lance and herself. Yeah, here's the scoop. So in the Justice League of America issue 220, it's revealed that Dina and Lance gave birth to a daughter. That daughter was cursed by a magician. The curse being that the child has an ear-piercing scream, so this baby was brought to the Thunderbolt dimension and then was made to believe that her parents were dead. And finally, number 1, Superboy, also known as Connor Kent or Con-El, made his debut in 1993 Adventures of Superman issue 500. So Superboy was created to essentially be a replacement for Superman, right? And they didn't ask me, how rude. So after Superman died fighting Doomsday, knocking him out, Project Cadmus then used Kryptonian DNA to make Superboy. So he's the son of both Lex Luthor and Clark Kent. What a weird combo. They wanted a new hero, they wanted to feel safe, so why not just make a clone of Superman? Easy peasy, right? It sounds fine. Cadmus wasn't able to get Superman's DNA, so they grabbed a human clone, made it look like him, and it turns out if you put a clone near the grave of a dead superhero, you absorb some powers. So Superman's bioelectric aura was absorbed by the clone and thus was given tactile telekinesis, which means you can simulate the powers of Superman for a small amount of time. He even rocked a high-tech visor to solve that problem, He was cool looking, he knew what he was doing. The Metropolis kid wasn't a fan of being called Superboy also, so watch your mouth out there. Kicking off the list at number 10, Jade, aka Jennifer Lynn Hayden. She made a comic book debut in All-Star Squadron issue 25 back in 1983. She is the daughter of Green Lantern, Alan Scott, and Rose Canton, aka Thorn. Now after conceiving their children, Rose fled, fearing that she would harm them, right? So she gave them up for adoption and they were separated. Jenny Lynn, aka Jade, was adopted by a couple in Milwaukee in the suburbs. She didn't know she had a twin brother until her late teens. Surprise, nice. Once the two of them met up, they tried to join the Justice Society, but were rejected. But have no fear, the two of them joined other children of Justice Society and then formed Infinity Inc. And then Jade's powers are of course similar to her father's due to his exposure to magical energies. She's able to generate green energy and shape it into constructs according to her will, right? We all knew this. The sibling bond is a strong one. Jade and Todd both can communicate through a limited form of telepathy. It's a twin thing, And guys, before we continue on to number 9, if you haven't already, go ahead and give us a thumbs up because it really goes a long way for us here at our Fat Cave. Also, huge news, we have another channel coming back after 3 years of running the show over here. Landon himself. He's not here, but if he was, he would be there. Landon himself is coming back with Landon Productions, premiering December 7th. So go and follow and then turn on your notifications because you don't want to miss what he's got coming. I've seen glimpses of it here at the studio and I'm pumped. Let's do it.
Is the Canada Goose gonna take it on?
I'm on top like I'm goddamn Mario, right? I'm just
Not today. Maybe tomorrow. Okay, is this real life right now?
Number 9, Zatanna. Appearing for the first time in Hawkman issue 4 back in 1964, Zatanna is the daughter of Zatara. She's a stage magician and she's really good. Like, really good, because you know, she has actual magic abilities. So she makes a pretty decent amount of money with these shows, which makes sense. I mean, if I had these powers, I would do the exact same thing. David Blaine who? Bye. Her father helped out the Justice Society and the Justice League of America numerous times. He was like the magic guy on the team, although Zatanna got the official membership. She gets her deeds done by speaking her spells backwards. Her mother is quite noteworthy as well, I'd say. So Zatanna thought she had died in a car crash after her birth, but actually she's a Homo Magi, a race of magical humans that coexisted alongside Homo sapiens. And her name is Cindella. She's from another dimension. How neat. The classic made you think I was in a car accident so I can fulfill my destiny with my own magical species scenario. Nice, classic. We've all been there.
Number 8. Hyperman. Hyperman is the son of Superman and Wonder Woman from the alternate reality of Kingdom Come. He is also raised in part by Batman, who is basically like his godfather until he was kidnapped and spirited away. After the heroes rescued him, the child seemingly disappeared, but we would later learn this is because he was actually raised by an older version of himself who resides within Hypertime. Young Jonathan Kent, as fate would have it, was destined to become the guardian of Hypertime, which pretty much means he was considered powerful and important enough to be the guardian of the pathways of the multiverse. Or the pathways to the multiverse, you know, lots of spacey stuff, lots of spacey Grant Morrison stuff. Number 7. Serenity. Serenity is the daughter of Aquaman and Mera in the alternate timeline that is explored in Justice League's Legacy story arc. We learned that although she was close to and loved her mother, she has a much strained relationship with her father, who also appears as a villain opposing the Legacy team of heroes. Eldris Curry's outfit seems to be inspired by both her father and mother and her Atlantean heritage. She also has been shown to possess super strength, teleportation, and water manipulation powers. Number 6. Connor Hawke. Green Arrow has had quite a few kids, even just in the main continuity. One of the most famous, however, is Connor Hawke, his natural-born son by his girlfriend Sandra Moonday Hawke. Connor would grow up to become the second Green Arrow following the apparent death of his father. His mother raised him by herself, teaching him about who his father was and telling him that she did love his father dearly. Connor first met his father when he was studying at the Ashram Monastery, the same monastery he knew his father had retreated to years ago. Oliver once more was doing just that and visited the monastery again after Black Canary had broken up with him. The adventure these two ended up going on didn't end so well though, as Green Arrow was made aware of Connor's true identity and connection to him before Connor had found the right time to confess that he was his son. Yikes. Shortly thereafter, Green Arrow died and Connor took up his father's mantle, becoming friends with the new Green Lantern, Kyle Rayner, just like his dad was friends with Hal Jordan. It's so cute. Number 5. Warhawk. Warhawk is the future son of Green Lantern John Stewart and Hawkgirl from the dceu, DC Animated Universe. He first appeared in the animated series Batman Beyond and was created by Paul Dini and Alan Burnett. Warhawk's real name is Rex Stewart, and he was named after one of John's friends from the military, Rex Mason, who would later become the Element Man, Metamorpho, in the DCAU. In an alternate timeline, Warhawk is shown to have teamed up with Static and future Batman Terry McGinnis, as well as old Bruce Wayne. Number 4. Cruz. The crazy thing about Nora Allen is that she isn't even the only child to come from these two League members. Nora Allen is part of the Justice League Legacy team, which Hunter Prince is also a part of from an alternate timeline, which Hunter Prince and Serenity of course are also part of from an alternate timeline. She is the daughter of Green Lantern Jessica Cruz and Barry Allen, aka The Flash. It's kind of a strange pairing, but definitely an interesting one, and one that's sort of been foreshadowed before, but I always just think of Iris, so that's just me. Nora and Hunter also appear to be in a romantic relationship in the Legacy story in which they both appear. Nora can tap into the Speed Force but does not seem to possess a Green Lantern ring like her mother. Number 3. Fury. Originally, Hippolyta Trevor was known to be the daughter of Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor, born from their marriage and first appearing in Wonder Woman issue 300. Weirdly enough, one of the first interactions we see with her and her mother is her training with a giant metal ball and asking for advice from another version of Wonder Woman, who is also joining Diana and Steve for dinner and is currently the main continuity Wonder Woman. The Wonder Woman that is Lita's mother is from Earth 2, the original Wonder Woman in terms of comic continuity. I also love older Wonder Woman in this with her like gray streak in her hair. It's so cool. Steve Trevor looks creepy though. He's got a creepy face. He's like, I'm 60 now. Why do you look so creepy, Steve Trevor? Why? Number 2. Damian Wayne. Damian Wayne is the very stubborn son of Batman and sometimes ally, but mostly villain, Talia al Ghul. Damian spent his formative years growing up with his mother, and as such was a trained and egotistical killer and jerk when he was dropped on Bruce's doorstep. However, over time he has learned restraint and discipline and has worked to earn the pride he initially felt as being the son of Batman. While Batman has many children technically, as in a way most of his Robins are kinda like his foster kids, Damian covets the title of the son of Batman, being his naturally born heir. Number 1. John Kent, or Superboy. But of course, there are just so many Superboys, I feel like calling him John is a little less confusing, though as you've already seen, there are also many versions even of Jonathan Kent as well. We already had another one on this list. This version is kind of the son of Superman and Lois though. He was born during Convergence, and he as a baby and his parents later ended up living on a different Earth than the one that they originally inhabited because of the New 52 reset. As there were already a version of Superman and Lois Lane on this Earth, they decided to go undercover to avoid getting in the way and adopted the surname White for a time. They were the Whites. John grew up relatively normally, but was always somewhat suspicious of his parents' activities. Eventually, the cat was out of the bag when John's powers manifested, and his parents told him the truth about who they really were. The cat wasn't just out of the bag though, the household cat was also accidentally killed by John's heat vision. So yes.
Alright, at number 10 we have the very silly but nonetheless evil Super Enemies. In the 1970s animated TV show Super Friends, there's an episode in 1979 called Universe of Evil, where Superman travels to an alternate universe to meet the evil counterparts to the Super Friends, very creatively named the Super Enemies. And the team is made up of all those bad guys we've all known so well and grown up with. You know, like Aquaman with an eye patch, and tinted red Batman, and oh, who could forget the iconic alien monkey Gleek. What a trailblazing team of supervillains they were. But as much as I roast them, they do actually pose a decent threat to Superman in this storyline, to the point where they team up with the military armed with kryptonite weapons, and even bring in their own version of Superman, giving our Superman a good old run for his money. But luckily, Superman Prime finds something called an antimatter flask, which turns all the super enemies back to being good again. Thank God Aquaman retires that eye patch and is no longer so intensely menacing looking. What a relief.
Number 9. Justice League of Assassins. Unfortunately, this evil Justice League didn't stick around too long. Being first introduced in Superman Volume 4, number 15 in March 2017, the Justice League of Assassins on Earth 14 were a group of augmented, mostly non-superpowered soldiers led by the obviously powerful Superman. The team was made up of Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Flash, Batman, Harley Quinn, and Green Lantern. With the exception of Superman, their powers relied mainly on weapons and technology, but primarily they used advanced firearms. Ultimately, they were all slaughtered, with this Superman being kidnapped by Prophecy, which is a shame, because this team looked super cool and they seemed to inhabit a pretty dark and grim looking post-apocalypse. Could have been very interesting.
Number 8. Flashpoint. In an effort to stop his mother's murder, Barry Allen created the Flashpoint timeline, a significantly darker reflection of the main DC universe and one of my favorite DC storylines to date. In this timeline, Thomas Wayne becomes Batman after Bruce is killed instead of him, Wonder Woman is like a tyrannical ruler of the Amazons and is locked in a crazy war with Aquaman because she killed his wife, and Superman is nowhere to be found, which means the Justice League technically doesn't exist, and honestly, what's darker than that? Probably a decent amount because this is only number 8, but anyways. If you're not familiar with this timeline, then I highly recommend you check it out for yourself. It is such a good one. All I'll say is that by the end of the series, several major characters are dead, and then in the expanded universe of the Flashpoint timeline, even more characters are revealed to be dead. It's just nuts. Thankfully, Barry managed to fix things before it was too late, but that wasn't enough to erase the Flashpoint timeline completely. Because of that, the DC universe is still dealing with the events of Flashpoint even to this day. Give it a read for yourself, starting with 2011's Flashpoint Volume 2, number 1. Number 7. The Crime Society. Hailing from Earth 3 comes the Crime Society of America, but not to be confused with the Crime Syndicate of America, who we may or may talk about later on. Consisting of Johnny Quick II, Owlman II, Power Ring, Superwoman, Ultraman, and a few others, this team of villains is basically just evil doppelgangers of the Justice League and the Justice Society. The Crime Society encountered and fought the Challengers, consisting of Donna Troy, Jason Todd, Kyle Rayner, and Bob the Monitor, and the Jokester. After the Challengers and the Jokester escaped to another universe, the Crime Society were offered a place among Monarch's transdimensional army, which they accepted, of course. The Crime Society went on to fight on Earth 51 and battled the Monitors. When Superboy Prime subsequently caused the destruction of Earth 51's reality, it's unknown if any of the Crime Society were able to actually survive that. Now while we're waiting to hear their fate, why not check out their story for yourself, starting with 2007's 52, number 52. Number 6. Kingdom Come Justice League. In 1996, Alex Ross and Mark Waid teamed up to create the miniseries Kingdom Come. This miniseries was set in a near future where the traditional heroes of the past came together to stop the brutal superheroes of the new generation. The new Justice League of elderly but still very strong heroes like Superman and Green Lantern set up a prison to hold rogue heroes and supervillains alike. Unfortunately, the Gulag erupted in a riot between metahumans that threatened to destroy the entire world, and that caused, let's just say, a little bit more trouble for these geriatric heroes. In an act of desperation, the United Nations launched several nuclear bombs over the Gulag site. Batman and Wonder Woman deactivated 2 of them, but one of them was still primed and falls over the battlefield. Superman attempts to stop the bomb, but Marvel throws him back and stops the bomb himself, detonating it prematurely over the Gulag, killing a lot of the League, Cavalry, and many of the inmates as well. What makes the storyline so dark is that throughout the story, the Justice League struggle to follow their own morals, even as they impose their own brand of justice on a very unhappy world. Batman in particular sided with Lex Luthor to quote-unquote liberate mankind from the Justice League. In the end, Superman saw his failure, but only at the cost of thousands of lives. Check out the entire miniseries for yourself, starting with 1996's Kingdom Come, number 1. Number 5. The Justice Lords. What makes the Justice Lords darker than the other timelines mentioned so far is the fact that the Justice League actually managed to completely rid their world of crime. While an absence of crime would be a positive thing for most, it's actually alluded that this version of the Justice League went to pretty extreme measures in order to accomplish such a feat. Appearing in the Justice League animated series episode A Better World, Lex Luthor has become the President of the United States and decided to just execute the Flash. That didn't really sit well with the Flash's friends, which is why an enraged Superman confronted Luthor in the Oval Office. Realizing he would never reform Luthor and keep him from committing such villainous acts, he incinerated him on the spot with his heat vision. With the President out of the way and a new method devised to deal with villains, the Justice League rechristened themselves the Justice Lords and went about establishing a new world order under their quote-unquote protection. They eventually came into conflict with the Justice League when they tried to instill their totalitarian rule on the other DC universes, but thankfully they were finally stopped by Superman and his pals, which actually included Lex Luthor, who became instrumental in stopping the Justice Lords and stripping them of their power. Check out this episode for yourself in 2003's Justice League Season 2, episode 22 and 23 as well. Number 4. The Injustice League. Back in 1988, we got introduced to a new version of the Justice League known as the Injustice League. This ragtag group consisted entirely of criminals who never actually made it big in their various enterprises, and determined to make it big, they just banded together and became the rather ineffective Injustice League. Major Disaster, Big Stir, Cluemaster, Multi-Man, Clock King, and the Mighty Bruce are what made up the roster. They barely managed to pull off any capers and mostly just got their butts kicked. Oddly enough though, after 2000's Silver Age, the Showcase number 1 came out, it retroactively made 1989's Injustice League the second version of the team. The quote-unquote original team was brought together in the Silver Age by the evil intergalactic Agamemnon, who used Lex Luthor to recruit other villains like Black Manta, Bizarro, and the Joker. This Injustice League was way more effective and even managed to switch minds with the JLA on one occasion. When the Justice League managed to switch back, they erased the memory of the event from the villains' minds completely. Check out these two teams in 1989's Justice League International number 23, or head over to 2000's Silver Age Showcase number 1. Number 3. Injustice Justice League. Now I think everyone can agree that no other timeline has featured more DC character deaths than the Injustice timeline. After the Joker takes virtually everything from Superman, the Man of Steel finally cracks and just kills the Clown Prince of Crime. From there, heroes continue to devolve into their worst selves, with a fair split maintaining their moral codes and principles. In the video game and comic franchise Injustice Gods Among Us, the Justice League still calls themselves by that same name, eventually changing it to the Regime though. But that's about the only similarity between the two universes, because the Injustice universe is about as dark as it can get. Superman loses his cool and just thrusts his hand through the clown's chest after the Joker destroys Metropolis, killing Lois Lane. As you might imagine, this not only kills the Joker but surprises Batman and everyone else around him. Superman decides he is fed up with the old way of doing things and sets out to create a new world order under his totalitarian rule. Superman reforms the League after opposing Batman and many of his other former friends. In the end, it's actually the Dark Knight who succeeds in recruiting Superman from the regular DC universe, who comes in to defeat his darker alter self. Now, if you're not familiar with this storyline, check it out for yourself, starting with 2013's Injustice Gods Among Us #1, or honestly just head back and play through the games one more time. Number 2, The New Reichman. Ever wonder what would happen if Superman didn't crash land in Kansas and instead he crash landed in, I don't know, Germany? Well, wonder no longer, because on Earth 10 that is the reality. On Earth 10, the Germans used Superman, known as Overman in this universe, to win World War II and basically take over the world. As a champion of Germania and the leader of the New Reichman, Overman is accompanied by Brunhilde, Earth 10's Wonder Woman, Leatherwing aka Batman, Blitzen aka The Flash, The Martian, Martian Manhunter, Underwater Man aka Aquaman, and Overgirl aka Supergirl, who was unfortunately killed in battle. Alongside the German forces, Overman conquered the world in less than 20 years, after which he decided to leave the Earth for a while. 3 years later, he returned with a clear head and saw all of the damage he helped cause and became an advocate against all that he once stood for, well, still working alongside them for some reason. Eventually, German scientists used callus cells to create a clone of him known as Overgirl that Overman loved like family. However, she died not too long after her creation, and this hit him hard. Inconsolable and grief-stricken, Overman leaked some precious information to the freedom fighters that resulted in the demise of the New Reichman and Metropolis as well. Check out probably one of the saddest Superman stories I have ever heard, starting with 2015's The Multiversity Guidebook, number 1. And number 1, The Crime Syndicate of America. Consisting of Ultraman, Owlman, Superwoman, Johnny Quick, and the Power Ring, the Crime Syndicate of America is the first alternate version of the Justice League to ever come to life following the events of Crisis on Infinite Earths. That event erased the multiverse but left the Antimatter universe, also known as the Quardian universe within DC's continuity. Within the Antimatter universe, the Crime Syndicate existed as an evil version of our favorite superheroes, only they were far more dastardly than their previous versions. With virtually no one to oppose them, they managed to establish and maintain control over a large portion of their Earth. Eventually they grew bored of their Earth, and the Crime Syndicate began kidnapping people from the 52 multiverse matter-based worlds and were visited by our Justice League to retrieve the people from the Justice League Earth that have been kidnapped. Fast forward past some pretty sweet fights and we see Owlman along with Superwoman and Ultraman banished to a prison subdimension while Johnny Quick and the current Power Ring were captured. Highly recommend you check out the storyline for yourself, so check it all out in their first appearance in 2000's JLA Earth number 2.
And we'll move on to number 10, which is Firestorm. Ronnie Raymond was a jock of a high school student who was also, funnily enough, an environmentalist. When Ronnie showed up to protest the opening of a new nuclear plant, he met Dr. Martin Stein, a Nobel Prize winning physicist who worked there. When the Firestorm Matrix reactor malfunctioned, thanks to one of Ronnie's compadres, Stein and Raymond were both caught in the radioactive aftermath and somehow found themselves fused together into Firestorm, the Nuclear Man. Now, they are a being with two minds sharing the same body, usually with Raymond taking the lead. Alongside the rather unique one man with two minds thing, Firestorm also gained the ability to transmute any non-organic matter, having complete control over molecules. With this ability, he can do many things. Flight, phasing, regeneration, self-sustenance, strength, durability, shape-shifting, energy projection, and absorption and density manipulation. All of which, as you know, make for an incredibly powerful individual. Number 9, Vixen. Mary McCabe, who is the superhero known as Vixen, is also a successful fashion icon, talk show host, and animal activist, who is able to channel the powers of any animal that has walked or evolved on Earth through the mystical object given to her ancestor by the god Anansi called the Tantu Totem. Originally, it was the Tantu Totem that gave her her abilities, but over time, it has been changed. The totem actually just helps hone said abilities. Basically, Vixen has a strong connection to the Red, which is a magical thingy that connects all animal life in DC Comics. A few other characters also share a connection to the Red, but I think Vixen is definitely one of the coolest. Normally, she uses this power for flight and to enhance her speed, strength, senses, and healing abilities. But she has also sometimes used the poisonous abilities of certain animals and has even been seen to fully transform into animals. Vixen's ability is so wide that she can use the light of an anglerfish to create powerful lasers, use the armor of armored beetles to withstand a punch from Superman, and she can even create a force field using just the energy from the Red itself.
At number 8, we have the Conglomerate. This group is basically
basically a bizarro version of the Justice League created by Booster Gold. The group is formed after Booster's departure from the Justice League International due to a lack of respect from his peers. When Booster first fails to bring together a competent group of heroes to form the first iteration of the conglomerate, someone named Claire Montgomery comes in to manage the group. With her, she brings along the likes of Deadeye, an alternate Green Arrow, Fiero, a guy with fire powers, Frostbite, an ice power guy, Elastaman, a stretchy man, Element Man, much like Metamorpho, Scarab, a knockoff of Blue Beetle, and Slipstream, a dollar store Flash. When they engage in a small friendly skirmish with the Justice League International, the fight quickly turns serious, and everyone learns at once that these new members have actually been brought from an antimatter world called Quard, and they're basically just entirely evil, and always had been. Luckily, the JLI take them down, but it's a close one.
Number 7, Squadron Sinister. This isn't so much an evil alternate Justice League as this team actually appears in the Marvel universe. But I'm gonna count it because I'm just stubborn like that. The original Squadron Sinister was created as a sort of obvious play on DC Comics Justice League characters Superman, Batman, Green Lantern, and The Flash, with the characters Hyperion, Nighthawk, Dr. Spectrum, and the hilariously named Wizard, respectively. The team was created by the Grand Master after he encountered the Squadron Supreme, and they first appeared in Avengers number 69 when they were pitted against the Avengers in a game between the Grand Master and Kang the Conqueror. They're bad guys who are counterparts to 4 members of the Justice League. I gotta stop justifying my reasons. They're on the list. Argue with me down below if you don't like it.
Alright, at number 6 we have the Justice Lords. Appearing in the animated series Justice League in the episode titled A Better World, this evil team is led by a radicalized Superman. Radicalized because he witnesses Lex Luthor murder the Flash and threaten nuclear war. So, Superman decides he'd abandon the typical hero's code of conduct and kill the bald tyrant himself. And in this alternate universe, Lex Luthor isn't just some super rich supervillain working away and hiding. He's actually worked his way to becoming the President of the United States. So, after his death, there is a power vacuum to be filled. And who would be better rulers than this evil alternate Justice League? No one. They didn't think so anyway, so they take over and put in place a totalitarian government with the justification being that they are protecting humanity from itself. And they start calling themselves the Justice Lords, which, I mean, you should sort of know you're the bad guys when the word Lord is in your title. Luckily, the real Superman is able to catch on and take them out of power before anything goes too far.
Number 5, Injustice League. Okay, so we have the Crime Syndicate of America, but there was also a team of villains put together to fight that team of villains. So, sort of technically making these villains heroes, but also not really because they're still villains. Right? The important information here is that the Injustice League, at least the one I'm referring to, was formed to combat the Crime Syndicate of America from Earth 3. The team's villainous members included Bizarro, Black Manta, Black Adam, Catwoman, Deathstroke, Sinestro or Parallax, Captain Cold, and they were formed and led by Lex Luthor. The team first appeared in Forever Evil number 3 in January of 2014 when the Crime Syndicate of America invaded the Prime Earth universe and tried, and very nearly did, take over the world.
At number 4 we have the Injustice Syndicate. I know, lots of groups with Syndicate and Injustice in their names. Well, that's because this evil version of the Justice League actually exists as a sort of combination between the Injustice League and the Crime Syndicate, both of which are included in this list respectively. Appearing in Batman the Brave and the Bold, in the episode called Deep Cover for Batman, Batman manages to travel to their evil dimension and infiltrate their operations disguised as Owlman. He sees that this group comprises of an evil version of himself, along with other evil alternate versions of other heroes he knows and works with. While eavesdropping, Batman learns of their plans to, destroy other universes entirely, which, of course, he feels is something he needs to put a stop to. And it can't wait, naturally. So he decides to take all of them on himself, and because he's Batman, and it is his TV show after all, he wins. Those universes can thank him later.
Number 3, the Joker League. In Emperor Joker number 1, of October 2000, the Joker has gained 99.99% of the reality warping powers of the fifth dimensional being, Mr. Mxyzptlk, and he used them to completely warp the world into an insane offshoot of our real world. In this Joker world, he has put together an evil, insane version of the Justice League called the Joker League of Anarchy. The team members include some characters we've seen before, such as Bizarro Number 1, Enigma, who's the Riddler, Gravedigger Lad, who is actually Jimmy Olsen, Lois Lane, Harley Quinn, and Poison Ivy. He has also created completely new characters that are wholly original to this story: Ignition, Bounty, Schism, and Scorched. He even has Lex Luthor as a jester. They are basically just the henchmen of this already pretty much all-powerful version of the Joker. Just another way of keeping him entertained, it seems.
At number 2, I'm putting the Injustice League from the video game Injustice: Gods Among Us. Most of us already know how this story goes, but in case you don't, this is one of the cooler and more well-written storylines about an evil alternate version of the Justice League. In most cases on this list, these evil groups are created by an alternate reality, which is always fun but pretty simple to come up with. But this storyline shows a radicalized Superman leading the Justice League to the dark side. And like I said, this isn't because he's an evil version of Superman or one that's possessed by some evil force. He's genuinely turned to evil after the Joker tricks him into killing Lois Lane. So to combat this new unexpected evil force, Batman decides to bring in other members from the Justice League from another universe, and the result is some pretty great fighting gameplay. And right as the game was being released, a comic book series of the same name was also being released in tandem, serving as a prequel to the game, where you can derive general story points from the game itself. Most of the backstory I just explained actually comes from the comics. It's cool to see the video game and comic book worlds working in tandem, and they make a pretty cool new storyline that I figure has to be ranked pretty high on this list.
Number 1, the Crime Syndicate of America. The Crime Syndicate of America hails from the strength-obsessed Earth 3, and is a twisted, evil version of many characters who make up the main universe Justice League of America. Its members include Ultraman in place of Superman, Thomas Wayne Jr., aka Owlman, and Alfred Pennyworth as the Outsider, Superwoman, who was Lois Lane at one point and Donna Troy at another, the cowardly Harold Jordan and vengeful John Stewart, who are both Power Ring, which are evil Green Lanterns, at different times, John Allen and John Chambers separately also as Johnny Quick, Atomica, Sea King, Deathstorm, Grid, and John Johns. They come into contact with the main universe many times, and they almost always spell out bad news, as you'd expect from the antithesis to the Justice League of America.
Coming in at number 10 on our list, you can't go listing off members of the Justice League without somehow including Batman. In a superhero group consisting of aliens, metahumans, and even literal gods, somehow a mere human being named Bruce Wayne is capable of not only keeping up with the DC Universe's best, but does such a good job of it that he's considered one of the Justice League's most central and fundamental members. Add that to the fact that Batman's got a dossier for each and every member of the Justice League just in case they ever go rogue or find themselves compromised by supervillains, and Batman goes to show that knowledge is power, even if he doesn't quite have any super strength of his own. At number 9, we've got our first Kryptonian hero of the list with the one and only Power Girl. Biologically the same person as Superman's cousin Kara Zor-El, aka Supergirl, Power Girl is from the destroyed Krypton of the alternate universe of Earth 2. While not quite as powerful as the Superman we all know and love, given Kryptonians' lower power levels in this universe, Power Girl is still a mighty force to be reckoned with super speed, super strength, flight, and heat vision all combining into one package. A benefit she has compared to both Superman and Supergirl is being immune to kryptonite, although magic's effectiveness against her is unfortunately still very much a worry. Nevertheless, Power Girl has shown many times over the years that she's far more than just a sex symbol, and has very much earned her place among the ranks of the Justice League.
Number 8. Blue Beetle. The Blue Beetle scarab is what gives this hero their powers.
I say there because the Blue Beetle has been multiple people over the years. Dan Garrett and Ted Kord were the first, with the most recent Blue Beetle being Jamie Reyes, and he will also be the one featured in the DCEU, so I'm gonna mainly focus on him, sorry. Once the Scarab latches onto Reyes' spine, it can manifest various powers. When he's in danger, the Scarab automatically activates and encompasses him in a high-tech suit of blue, beetle-like armor. This suit provides Reyes with superhuman durability and strength, flight with wings that spread out the back, and speed with rocket boosters. It can also translate both human and alien languages for Reyes. The suit's durability is so high that it is bulletproof and allows Reyes to survive the heat of a rocket launch, re-entering Earth's orbit, and even explosions. The suit can also produce energy blasts from its hands that are powerful enough to discharge Kryptonian radiation and neutralize magic, which, if you don't know, both of those things are quite the feat. The suit can also construct objects out of nanotechnology as well as transform itself into nearly anything. The suit has transformed itself into anything from swords and cannons to a staple gun, which could probably be pretty useful, I think. It can manipulate alien technology and apparently has access to WMDs that are apparently capable of taking out the Spectre, so yeah, don't sleep on Blue Beetle. Number 7. Red Tornado. Originally, Red Tornado was an android created by the supervillain T.O. Morrow, whose name I absolutely hate. But he was made to infiltrate the Justice Society of America. But since then, the android has, well, he's become more than an android, but he's also become a noble superhero and a pretty gosh darn powerful member of the Justice League. Red Tornado basically is an air elemental housed in an android shell. He can create powerful air currents powerful enough to level skyscrapers in seconds. He channels air and wind forces through his arms and legs to produce bursts of cyclone strength winds and high speed forward velocity flight. He can also absorb air, which, I mean, we all absorb air when we breathe, so it's kind of weird. But Red Tornado is also super strong and very durable, enough so that he, or it, can take a missile straight on and come out completely unharmed. A few times, Red Tornado actually managed to become invisible to the human eye due to his high velocity movement, and surprisingly not because he's an elemental. His android form also gives him resistance to various mental powers. He's very cool, but unfortunately not as popular as he should be. Number 6. The Ray. Raymond Terrell was apparently born with a condition that didn't allow him any exposure to sunlight. Or at least, that's what he had been told. It turns out Ray had been lied to. In reality, Ray's real father was Happy Terrell, a World War II hero known as the Ray. So it turns out Raymond was born with tremendous superpowers that only awaken with light exposure. Upon discovering his new powers, he actually went invisible for about 4 years, before saving a friend, turning the assailant invisible, and then restoring them to scare the bejesus out of them. Ray is a being of light and has many abilities as a result. Once his body absorbs natural light, like sunlight or artificial light, he can direct the energy to rearrange molecules into any form, matter, or energy. With the projected energy, he can fly, project rays, beams, and bolts of destructive light, and create constructs out of pure light similar to how a Green Lantern can do it. Obviously, he can bend light to make himself or others invisible, but he can also do a similar thing in order to create illusions. And after consuming light energy, he can sustain himself off of it, not needing to eat or drink. Number 5. Metamorpho. Rex Mason was a globe-trotting adventurer and archaeologist who encountered the Orb of Ra on one of his journeys. This orb mutated him just a little horribly, but alongside the mutations, it also gave him the power to convert his body into any element. If you ask me, it's a pretty fair trade-off. I would take it. Using the power to shapeshift his body into various forms using the elements, he became a hero. Now Rex can stretch, bounce, elongate, control, and reshape his body as if it were made out of rubber or plastic. He can alter the shapes and consistencies of the elements he becomes and even combine them to form complex compounds. He has biofission, meaning that Rex can split his body into several copies of himself, each with the same powers. And lastly, he has a naturally occurring body armor, but it's a little redundant because, although Metamorpho's powers allow him to fight against evil, they also are a curse, keeping him trapped in a hideous form, unable to even die. He's not hideous, honestly. People are just kind of judgmental. Number 4, Stargirl. Starting off as Star-Spangled Kid of the team Stars and Stripes with her stepdad, Pat Duggan, after joining the JSA, Courtney Whitmore is given the Star Rod when Jack Knight decides to quit being Starman. To continue his legacy, eventually she officially declares herself as Stargirl. Now, as Star-Spangled Kid, Courtney used the Cosmic Converter Belt, which enhances a number of Courtney's abilities such as her agility, durability, speed, stamina, and strength, as well as allowing her to create Star Blasts from the stored energy of the belt. When she became Stargirl, she still kept this belt, but now she's using the Star Rod, which allows her to fly as well as absorb energy which she can project into various uses, such as blasts and force fields. Also, because the rod is attuned to her, it can receive mental commands from a distance, so she can do multiple different things here. Pretty good. Number 3, Aztec. Okay, since we are talking about a character who has a lot to do with Aztec mythology, I will 110% mess up some pronunciation here, just a forewarning. Uno, the man who would become Aztec, was trained from birth by the mysterious Q Society, which is a secret organization dedicated to providing a champion for Quetzalcoatl. His mission is to prepare for the eventual second coming of the dark god Tezcatlipoca. To help with that, Aztec's power comes from the Mask of Warriors, which has been handed down from warrior to warrior over the generations, with their consciousness becoming one with the mask, meaning Aztec can call upon the experience of his predecessors in any situation, which is incredibly helpful. The helmet bestows its wearer with a variety of abilities other than that though, including enhanced audio and visual systems like X-ray and infrared vision. It protects the wearer, increasing physical strength, and will even transfer full motor control over to the helmet if the wearer becomes unconscious. The armor can camouflage itself, turning it invisible or reducing the wearer's molecular density. The gauntlets contain energy blasters located in the palms, and launchers hidden in the wrists that can shoot wire nets, cables, or mini rockets. Kind of like Iron Man, the armor's chest piece acts as a power battery for the suit, and also allows the venting of highly destructive energy that can destroy a whole city block. The suit also allows him to fly and allows Aztec to travel through space. It also looks super cool. Number 2, Mr. Miracle. Mr. Miracle was Scott Free, who is the god of escape in the New Gods mythology. So that's already a high level of praise. A Genetian raised on Apocalypse, Scott and Big Barda left for Earth, where he used the skills he learned in escapology both as a performance artist and in the Justice League of America. So, obviously as a new god he has immortality, super strength, durability, and agility, but the fun part is his escapology. Scott can basically escape from most things, even in his sleep, and no, I'm not joking. He is aware of the unconscious procedures he's mastered and can modify them in their use with other skills to use new knowledge. He's also very proficient when it comes to making traps. It may not seem like an incredibly useful ability, but it is certainly unique and can be used in more instances than you may think, especially when on a team like the Justice League. And in at number 1 is the Phantom Stranger. First appearing in the first issue of his own self-titled comic all the way back in 1952, the Phantom Stranger is an immortal to the extent of even surviving having his own heart taken out of his body. The Phantom Stranger is a mysterious supernatural guide and specialist in the occult. He can travel across space and time at will, even to magical dimensions, including the realm of the just dead, the antechamber of souls, heaven, hell, apocalypse, and the realm occupied by the quintessence. All of which is something very few Justice League members can actually do. There's a lot that is just kind of not known about this character, which is a purposeful thing, but it's a really annoying thing for making a video on him on YouTube. In the New 52, he is apparently Judas Iscariot, roaming the earth trying to make up for the guilt of betraying Jesus. I don't know where that came from, it just kinda is the way it is. He is one of the most powerful magic users in DC Comics, with his use of magic being almost unmatchable, if not taken by surprise.
Number 10, the Super Enemies. Starting off our list today with a Dark Justice League with no comic origins comes the Super Enemies, an alternate universe version version of the Super Friends devoted to the cause of deceit, injustice, and terror. The team consists of Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Robin, Aquaman, Zan, Jaina, and Gleek. However, they have no morals and are just evil mirrored versions of the Super Friends. In the episode they're featured in, the Super Friends meet these evil duplicates in the Hall of Evil, which is their Hall of Justice. The super enemies frequently taunt the authorities, who are powerless to stop them, although the civilian police are actually equipped to just straight up take them down, as they have kryptonite lasers to stop evil Superman. The Superman of the Super Friends universe first met them when he was mysteriously transported into their universe while trying to stop a volcano from erupting, while their Superman was transported into the Super Friends universe. As Superman tried to escape from these super enemies and the military armed with kryptonite weapons, the evil Superman was transported to the real universe to fight the Super Friends. Superman Prime ended up getting an antimatter flask that switched them back, which was good news for everyone. And then later on, Lex Luthor organized his own Legion of Doom to be the real anti-Justice League, and it had a much better name. Check out the one-off appearance of this evil team in 1979 Super Friends episode Universe of Evil. Number 9. Conglomerate. The Justice League doesn't always have to consist of the same roster. I mean, don't get me wrong, I am a huge Batman and Superman fan, but there is also a smaller and less powerful team called Justice League International. And Mark Waid and Rod Wiggum had them face their evil duplicates in 1992. In the previous story, Booster Gold had just left the JLI to found his own corporate sponsored team called the Conglomerate. Now that didn't work out too well, and the owner decided to pull new heroes out of another reality to form a new conglomerate of Deadeye, who's an alternate Green Arrow, Fiero, an alternate Fire, Frostbite, aka Ice, Elastaman, aka Elongated Man, Element Man, aka Metamorpho, Scarab, an alternate Blue Beetle, and Slipstream, an alternate Flash. The conglomerate decided to challenge the JLI to a quote-unquote friendly competition that quickly turned violent when they realized the new conglomerate were all from Quard in evil antimatter world. The JLI managed to get them back into their own world, but it was a very close call to say the least. Check out the first appearance of the conglomerate in 1991's Justice League Quarterly number 1, or feel free to skip ahead to 1992's Justice League Quarterly number 8 for the fight of a lifetime.
Coming in at number 8, we've got Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern. Originally a test pilot working for the military, Hal Jordan became a member of the legendary Green Lantern Corps after being gifted a ring by a dying member of the Corps, Abin Sur. Out of all the members of the Justice League, the Green Lantern's power set allows the most creativity, with Hal Jordan able to make constructs out of pure green light and willpower that can take the shape of anything he sees fit. Combined with increased strength and the ability to fly throughout the cosmos, the Green Lantern is an essential member of the team on any space-related adventures, and with the only limit to his constructs being his own willpower, the Green Lantern can be very tough to beat. Speaking of green and powerful cosmic superheroes, at number 7 we have the one and only J'onn J'onzz, otherwise known as the Martian Manhunter. The last son of Mars, because apparently the Justice League is all about hiring the last people from dying planets, the Martian Manhunter possesses many of the same strength and speed-based powers as other spacefaring heroes in the DC universe, but with one particularly impressive twist. He can change his body and appearance into any shape he desires, from impersonating humans and blending in on Earth, to creating clothing and weaponry out of his own molecular structure. With an incredibly tragic backstory that saw him losing both his wife and child during a civil war on Mars, J'onn J'onzz has since then spent his days protecting his new adopted planet of Earth and aiding the Justice League when evil arrives from beyond the stars. Coming in at number 6, we have a character that would definitely rank much higher on this list if his powers were a bit more stable. Please welcome to the stage Captain Atom. Originally a scientific volunteer named Nathaniel Atom, Nathaniel chose to take part in experiments at a research facility called the Continuum. Originally meant to pilot a special dimensional transfer vehicle during a cross-dimension experiment, Nathaniel was seemingly blown apart and atomized by radiation during the experiment, only to reappear moments later as an energy-based life form. Captain Atom's powers seem almost godlike to an extent, capable of manipulating matter and all of the energy fields associated with it, but with the Captain frequently needing to return to the Continuum whenever he'd begin having issues with remaining corporeal or maintaining control of his powers. And while the Justice League doesn't ally with him often, given the potential danger of his radioactive abilities, he really knows how to pack an atomic punch when he's needed. At number 5, we have another central member of the Justice League with the incredibly iconic Wonder Woman. Otherwise Otherwise known as Princess Diana of the Amazons, Wonder Woman is the literal daughter of Zeus, and is one of the physically strongest beings in the DC universe. Her strength and speed are capable of reaching incredible levels, and while her healing and invulnerability aren't quite up to the level of a Kryptonian's, she does have a much stronger immunity to magical-based attacks. Combined with her ancient Amazonian equipment such as the Lasso of Truth, and you'd have to be a fool to try and mess with Wonder Woman. Coming in at number 4, we have the one and only Billy Batson, aka Shazam. It may seem odd to put a literal child so high up on the list of DC's most powerful superheroes, but Billy Batson's secret is that by merely saying the magic word of Shazam, he is able to transform into one of the most powerful, godlike beings in the DC universe, combining his powers from the Greek heroes and deities of Solomon, Hercules, Atlas, Zeus, Achilles, and Mercury. With all of these strengths combined, Shazam has been able to stand toe-to-toe with Superman himself. It's only his need to occasionally go back to his original kid form that stops Billy Batson from permanently being at the top of this list. At number 3, we have none other than Dr. Fate. Born under the name of Kent Nelson, Dr. Fate is a superhero that derives all of his powers from his equipment in the form of the Helmet of Fate, an ancient artifact that is literally billions of years old and contains the powers of Nabu, a cosmic being with limitless magical power as the Lord of Order. This means that while wearing the helmet, Dr. Fate is essentially a god with all of his magical abilities, capable of reshaping reality and seeing glimpses of the future. Compared to all the other magic users in the Justice League, Dr. Fate just might come out on top, and the only question left is, which two superheroes could even beat him? Coming in at number 2, we've got to go with Barry Allen, the fastest man alive, aka The Flash. Barry's powers come from a deep connection to something known as the Speed Force. He's not simply capable of moving extremely fast like many superheroes, but is actually using energy from the very concept of speed itself. The Speed Force allows Barry to travel at practically limitless speeds, racing any potential adversary, and even allowing the Flash to travel through time and even alternate realities, moving so fast that he's capable of whizzing right past those fundamental laws of reality. Add enhanced senses and a whole lot of perks to the Flash's power set, and he stands out as one of the most well-rounded and powerful members of the Justice League. After all, how do you top someone you could never even catch? Well, there's just one hero that might be capable. That's right, it might be the obvious choice, but there really is no other. The number 1 pick has got to be Superman. The last son of the doomed planet Krypton, Superman is a beacon to the rest of the DC universe, a symbol of how good and hope-inspiring a superhero should be, and he luckily has the power set to back it up. Unless kryptonite or magic is involved, Superman can practically do anything, and the limits of his strength seem to only be self-imposed ones so that he doesn't literally shatter the planet with each punch. But even with all of this power, Superman never wavers in his quest for truth and justice, and remains a steadfast inspiration for everyone. And that is exactly how the world's most powerful hero should be.